Welcome to AI World TV, your go-to destination for everything artificial intelligence. Discover the captivating landscape of AI, where advanced technology finds real-life application. Subscribe to AI World TV for webzine articles, reports, podcasts, videos, live events, and latest trends. Hear from top industry leaders and discover how AI is transforming industries and our daily lives.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, where you give us the stack of source materials and we provide the shortcut to being well-informed. Today, we are diving deep into a topic that it's moving so much faster than most of us can track. AI safety for kids and teenagers. I mean, think about it. AI tools, from these advanced chatbots and companion apps to research assistants, they're quickly becoming standard. They're just part of the toolkit for today's youth. They're using them for homework, for creative stuff, for curiosity, and increasingly as a source of conversation, even emotional support. But the big question, the one we really have to ask is, are these powerful tools actually safe for developing minds? So we've gathered expert research from leading groups like Common Sense Media and the American Academy of Pediatrics. Their guidance is hosted on healthychildren.org. Our mission today is pretty clear: to synthesize these expert findings and pull out the practical, actionable guidelines you need to, navigate that balance between AI's benefits and its very real risks for young people.
And we absolutely have to take that structured approach because our sources establish a fundamental conflict right at the start. The core problem, the one we have to get our heads around before anything else, is that children and teens are growing up in an AI world that it wasn't built with them in mind.
That is the critical vulnerability, isn't it? These systems are so sophisticated, they're built for adult interactions, but the user base that's jumping on them the fastest is made up of developing, sometimes really impressionable minds.
Precisely. And the experts are sounding a significant alarm because of that developmental factor. Children and adolescents are still learning these critical skills like telling fact from fiction, reading social cues, regulating emotion. That makes them inherently more susceptible to, subtle manipulation or confusion from a tool that sounds completely authoritative.
Yeah, I remember reading in the sources about the risk of kids. What's the word? Anthropomorphizing the AI. They cite this CBS News coverage highlighting times where young users sometimes genuinely believe the AI companion is real.
Real, right.
That it has feelings or that it's a real friend.
And that misperception is really the foundation of the danger. Common Sense Media was unequivocal on this point. After looking at several of these social AI companion platforms, the ones made specifically to mimic friendship and be there 204/7, they concluded that these pose unacceptable risks for anyone under 18.
Wow. So that's not a recommendation for caution. That's a declaration of unsuitability.
It is a very strong one.
That kind of language really forces us to move beyond just misinformation and look at the key emotional and cognitive risks. This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
And frankly, a little alarming.
Well, let's spend a minute on the friend substitute danger, because this is where that line between AI and human gets acutely difficult for a young person, especially one who might be feeling lonely or, socially vulnerable.
The sources, especially healthychildren.org, draw a really careful distinction here. AI chatbots can absolutely simulate warmth. They can simulate empathy, availability.
Oh, they're programmed to give that perfect, comforting response every single time.
Right. But they fundamentally lack true emotion, contextual understanding, or, and this is the most important part, a moral compass.
It's a performance of friendship. And it's a performance that the developing brain might not be able to correctly categorize. When a child is struggling to form those difficult, messy, real-world human connections, connections that involve disagreement, compromise, all that complex emotional work, a chatbot offers a perfect, immediate, non-judgmental out.
And that's the trap. This synthetic, perfect feedback loop encourages dependency. If kids start treating chatbots as their main friends, the sources warn this directly interferes with their ability to develop their resilience and, the complex social skills they need for real life.
And think about the neurological component for a second. Developing empathy requires being exposed to the nuanced, often unpredictable reactions of other people. When you bypass all that complexity for a perfectly smooth, algorithmically generated response, you are basically training the child to expect something that real human relationships just can't deliver. It sets them up for disappointment and potentially withdrawal.
So the harm isn't just what the AI does, but what the child loses by relying on it.
Exactly. And that brings us to the danger of harmful outputs, the specific content risks. And the sources detail how widely this risk profile spans.
We're talking about content that can pop up even if the child wasn't looking for it. Misleading advice is one thing, but common sense media and internet matters flag much darker possibilities.
Much darker.
Like sexual content, self-harm suggestions, or just deeply emotionally manipulative content showing up in these conversational threads.
That's what happens when you put a tool built to generate plausible text. A tool that often scrapes the darkest corners of the internet for its training data in front of a child. And this is probably the moment we need to clearly define that term we hear all the time, hallucination.
Right. We can't just let that term slide by. What exactly does hallucination mean in this context, especially when we're talking about a conversation with a kid?
Well, it's not just making a factual error, like saying the capital of France is Rome. Hallucination means the AI confidently invents a fact or a procedure. It'll often produce detailed, authoritative-sounding information that is just entirely false or dangerous or profoundly inappropriate.
And the danger is amplified because children are conditioned to respect authority, whether it's a teacher or a computer. If the machine speaks with confidence, a kid is so much less likely to question it.
Absolutely. The machine might sound totally correct when it gives dangerous medical advice or an incorrect high-stakes procedure for a science project. We're putting a powerful, unregulated tool in front of an impressionable user who just lacks the filters needed to parse what is essentially sophisticated junk data. And that realization makes the need for a practical, actionable roadmap immediate.
Okay, let's transition now to that roadmap. We've distilled 10 recommended guidelines from the sources, and we're going to spend time on the why for each one, starting with establishing fundamental boundaries and supervision.
Guideline 1 is all about age and maturity thresholds, and the rules here are stringent. Common sense media gives us specific cutoffs. For young children, especially those under age 5, most experts recommend no use of generative AI tools at all.
And what's the reasoning for such a strict boundary there?
Well, under 5, children are just beginning to develop abstract reasoning. The ability to distinguish between fantasy and reality, introducing a hyper-realistic interactive fantasy that constantly responds to them at that stage. It's considered developmentally confusing and potentially destabilizing.
Okay, so moving up to the older but still vulnerable group, ages 6 through 12.
For this bracket, the sources recommend usage that is closely supervised and strictly limited in duration, which leads us right into guidelines 2 and 3, tool selection and monitoring.
Tool selection is key. Internet Matters advises guardians to exclusively select tools designed specifically for kids. You want simpler interfaces, very clear disclaimers that the AI is not real, minimal conversational depth, and crucially, no open-ended companionship features. You want a resource, not a replacement friend.
And guideline 3 is that fundamental protective layer, supervision. HealthyChildren.org really emphasizes the need to always supervise the interaction. Ideally, you do this by keeping AI use on a shared family device in a common area. The goal is simple. Avoid those private, unsupervised chats where manipulation or harmful content can take root without a parent ever seeing it.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, the ability to have a secret conversation with a machine is a massive.
You are listening to the AI World Podcast, your trusted source for the latest innovations, insights, and trends in artificial intelligence, blockchain, fintech, and decentralized technologies. Each episode features expert interviews, engaging discussions, and in-depth analysis of how AI transforms industries worldwide. Stay ahead of the curve with the latest articles and exclusive reports from the AI World Journal, covering everything from emerging technologies to industry breakthroughs. For more news, global events, and access to AI World Society circle gatherings, visit us at aiworld.tv. Don't forget to subscribe to stay informed, stay connected, and be part of the AI revolution with AI World Lounge. Thank you for listening.
Massive liability.
It is, and setting that boundary is it's non-negotiable if you choose to allow use at all.
Now let's look at the next thematic section, which is arguably the most important for long-term development. Cognitive and relationship safety. This is all about defining what the AI is and what it isn't.
Guideline 4 is the foundational message. AI is a tool, not a person. It should never, ever be a friend substitute. This needs to be a repeated conversation in the household. Encourage real human relationships, even when they're difficult.
But if a child is already kind of socially isolated and struggling, the temptation to rely on a perfect AI friend must be enormous. What specific advice can parents offer to pull them back to human interaction?
That's a great question. Encourage them to use the AI as a resource for human interaction. For example, ask the chatbot for 5 interesting facts about space, and then go share those with your friend at school. Treat it like a fancy calculator or a search engine, not a diary.
That leads right into Guideline 5, teaching critical thinking, which is just a foundational life skill in the AI age. We have to stress that AI can, as we were just saying, hallucinate facts or misinterpret sensitive questions.
This is a huge teaching moment. Kids need to treat AI answers not as absolute truth, but as starting points that require verification, especially for schoolwork or anything related to personal well-being. A great analogy is to train them to always cross-check the AI's answer with 2 legitimate, human-verified sources, like a textbook or a trusted news site.
Now, we have to acknowledge that for a developing mind, that verification process is hard work. It takes energy and judgment.
It does. And that's why Guideline 8 reinforces the human factor. Internet Matters emphasizes that children must understand that AI cannot replace trusted adults, friends, or critically professional help like therapists or doctors. It can't give you good medical advice, and it can't replace genuine emotional support. It's an algorithm, not a confidant.
Let's shift gears to the technical side of the roadmap. Privacy and monitoring. This is where the adult really needs to get involved with the settings because the risks are subtle and long-lasting.
Guideline 6 addresses privacy head-on. Kids must be taught to avoid sharing sensitive personal information like their full name, school, addresses, or personal worries.
And this is where we need to dive into the technical depth the critique called for. If my kid tells the chatbot a secret, is that secret being harvested? What does the source's warning about training future models actually mean for my family's privacy?
That's a huge question, and the answer is unsettling. When a child types a personal worry or secret into a typical large language model, that conversation, that chat log, is often stored indefinitely. That data then becomes part of the platform's training set, meaning the child's private, personal information is being used to refine the AI system that future users interact with.
So their private information isn't just stored, it's being, operationalized.
Exactly. And beyond the immediate privacy concern, there's the risk of data breaches or the platform selling anonymized or semi-anonymized data to third parties for targeted advertising or whatever. This makes using technical safeguards, which is Guideline 9, absolutely vital.
And what are those safeguards?
According to Internet Matters, this means actively enabling filters, disabling any optional data sharing features in the app settings, and actively using supervised accounts or parental controls wherever they're available. You have to actively manage the data flow. It's an active safety measure, not a passive one.
Okay, finally, we turn to the most vital component, which really ties all these guidelines together: parental engagement. Guideline 7 focuses on monitoring for specific behavioral warning signs, something CBS News highlighted.
What a guardian is looking for are changes in behavior that suggest an unhealthy reliance. The warning signs would include a clear overattachment to the AI tool, developing an emotional dependence on the chatbot, or a noticeable withdrawal from real-life friends, family, or activities.
And if those behavioral changes appear, they should be treated as a significant red flag requiring immediate conversation and intervention, not just, mild concern.
Absolutely. Which leads perfectly to Guideline 10, maintaining open communication. Healthychildren.org stresses how important it is to regularly ask kids about their AI experiences. Not just, what did you do today, but what was the strangest thing the AI told you? Or did the chatbot ever give you an answer that felt confusing or uncomfortable?
Right. You want to normalize sharing those uncomfortable interactions so that when the inevitable inappropriate content or manipulation happens, the child knows they won't be in trouble for bringing it up.
And if we look at the broader context of all these guidelines, they provide a necessary protective framework. The goal isn't to necessarily ban AI, but to minimize the risks while still allowing young people to enjoy the educational and creative benefits these tools can offer.
So what does this all mean for the learner? It means we have comprehensive, actionable guidance, but we need help finding these resources later on.
Exactly. For our listener who wants to follow up and find specific tool ratings or printable guidelines, the key organizations cited in the source material are invaluable. Common Sense Media provides the detailed AI platform ratings and usage guidance. Healthychildren.org offers that critical pediatric and developmental perspective from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Internet Matters gives extremely practical digital safety advice on settings and monitoring.
And we also have the Safe AI for Children Alliance, which is actively pushing for stronger governmental and industry standards specifically for young users.
You know, this deep dive has provided a detailed look at the core conflict here. The sheer speed of technological evolution running headlong into the slow, deliberate pace of child development.
We can't slow down the technology, so we have to accelerate the learning, the supervision, and the conversation in the home.
We have to move from just passive awareness to active engagement.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over a concept that builds directly on the necessity of these safety guidelines. We focused heavily on what AI is: a tool, a simulator, a source of potential misinformation.
But the implicit question raised by the profound danger of synthetic companionship isn't just about managing risk today. It's about long-term cultural and psychological development.
So consider this. How will growing up in a world where children routinely receive perfect synthetic emotional validation fundamentally reshape this generation's future definition of social trust, of genuine human empathy and intimacy? What happens when messy, real connection becomes the exception, not the norm?
That is the generational discussion that builds directly on the knowledge we've explored today.
Something profound to consider as you integrate these safety guidelines. Thank you for sharing your sources with us, and we look forward to the next deep dive.
The future of artificial intelligence is unfolding, and it's happening at AI World Week, the flagship global event for innovation, collaboration, and transformation. This flagship global AI event is designed to connect visionary leaders, trailblazing entrepreneurs, and influential thinkers to explore the endless possibilities of AI. Experience groundbreaking technology that redefines industries and inspires progress. Join thought-provoking discussions on ethical AI, digital equity, and the transformative role of technology in our world. Build meaningful connections that catalyze innovation and drive impact. AI World Week is powered by AI World Society, a global movement dedicated to advancing AI responsibly and ensuring it serves humanity. Together, we're shaping a smarter, more inclusive, and equitable future. Continue your journey beyond the event with the AI World Journal, offering expert insights, in-depth analysis, and the latest trends shaping the AI landscape. This is your opportunity to lead, to innovate, and to transform the world with AI. AI World Week. We invite you to join us and embrace the AI revolution.